and welcome to Members on the Mic with the Troy Chamber of Commerce, where we connect with Troy Chamber members as they give us a glimpse into their company and share some of the business lessons they've learned along the way. Hi, everyone. I'm Tara Tomczyk-Husak, President and CEO of the Troy Chamber of Commerce, and I am joined today by the amazing co-host and Vice President of the Chamber, Sheila Denstead.
Hello.
First, I'd like to take a moment to thank our presenting sponsor, Trion Solutions. Please stay tuned for our very first commercial break, where you can learn how you can rely on Trion. So, Sheila, we've got a really fun and exciting guest ahead of us today. So why don't you give us a little intro on who we're meeting with?
I would absolutely love to, and I'm really excited to listen and learn what I'm doing wrong. And we'll do a lead-in with that.
That was tough.
Yeah. Today we're meeting with Jennifer Janus, who is president of Pophouse. Pophouse is a Detroit-based design studio focused on creating informed, curated, and human-centric spaces. As president, Jennifer is focused on strategic growth of Pophouse, as well as developing a team that is actively innovating in the design industry, creating the culture that fosters diversity of thought and experience, as well as purposeful and fearless work is one of Jennifer's top areas of focus. Jennifer joined Pophouse in 2017 as a chief operating officer and moved into her current role shortly thereafter. Prior to Pophouse, Jennifer led successful creative operations at pharmaceutical marketing agency, Big Communications. Her background as a copywriter and leading advertising agencies, including Campbell Ewald, Leo Burnett, and BBDO, provided the creative foundation that helps her lead creative teams today. In addition to her role at Pophouse, Jennifer serves on the board of American Society of Employers, actively participates in the Center of Positive Organizations at the University of Michigan Ross School of Business, and is a member of Vistage. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you so much.
That's all exciting. See, and this is why we're excited to have you, because obviously there's a lot of nuggets in that background. So, but I mean, first of all, you guys are newer to the chamber, so we're really obviously excited to have you. But Pophouse, tell us a little bit about Pophouse, how it came to start and where we're at today.
Absolutely. First off, we're really excited to have joined the chamber and, learning and excited to really get more involved. Pophouse actually started 10 years ago. So this year we're celebrating our 10th anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. And we started as a result of Quicken Loans, now Rocket Mortgage, moving from Livonia down to downtown Detroit. And at that time, all of those team members needed to switch where they were going to work. And a lot of people were hesitant to work in downtown Detroit at that time. And so our team was born. And really what our purpose was to create spaces that people would be safe, feel safe, be excited to come to. It would connect them to the culture of their company. And so we really got a lot of experience over a very short period of time. And at that time, Detroit was really at the very beginning stages of the revitalization. So it was uncertain. You didn't really necessarily want to go and work downtown. So we learned very quickly how to motivate people to come back to work, which is interesting in this time that we're in right now. And also had the opportunity to activate beautiful historical buildings in downtown Detroit and really bring them back to life. So we've seen a lot of growth and change over the last 10 years and taken that experience outside of Detroit, all around Southeast Michigan and beyond, and then really around the country as well.
It's very field of dreams. If you build it, they will come. Yes. So if you beautify it, they will stay. Yeah. So that's a good sign in itself. Yeah. So, Sheila, you had the question. I know this one.
I know. I
you
have a question, but
sure. I saw your face.
The name Pophouse. Where'd it come from?
Yeah.
So when the company started, it was actually Depop, which the D was Detroit, and the POP was People, Office, and Places.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
And about 5-6 years ago, we really were starting to go through maturing as a company, and we were thought of still as kind of a startup that was really young and didn't know what we were doing. And we said, it's time for a rebrand. Yeah. So we went through really this transition of not separating ourselves from our roots, but sort of that next evolution and really focusing on design that's going to impact people and how we really elevate that design.
Well, and after 10 years, you're not a startup anymore. You guys know what you're doing. You're established. You've created masterpieces within people's office environment. So you're not exactly that startup.
Right. We still feel that way. I mean, it really does feel that way.
Yeah, you can still have your street cred, but
we're like teenagers, not babies.
Fine. That's fine.
Well, and then Depop, I'm thinking of a boy band, so sorry, I went that direction.
I went straight soda, so I went straight soda pop, but that's okay. All right.
So, well-designed spaces can lead to improved business performance. Obviously, that's something you learned from moving them down to Detroit and all that. Right. How did you go about that? Tell us a little bit more.
So it's really interesting because I think at first glance, a lot of businesses will say design's an extra, it doesn't really matter. But when we look at design, it's really holistic from the standpoint of sound, lighting, temperature control. Are you comfortable in the chair that you're sitting in? And all of those pieces of your environment are really important to you. Some of them you can visually see, and other ones are more subtle. You don't even know that they're part of the design of the space. Mm-hmm. You just know that when you're working in a space that has all those layers well thought through, you feel good. And so really what we try and achieve is that if you are in a space that makes you feel good, you're going to be more energetic, you're going to be more productive, and it's going to support the work that you're doing. So we've seen through a lot of our projects how the space really does impact, retention on team members and also just how people feel throughout the day. We want people to leave their office feeling really energetic, not drained and, tired.
Well, I think there's something to be said about it, too, that each individual business is going to have its own different feel. Right. So it's not hey, we're going to throw every wall is going to be black and moody. That could be absolutely the opposite, a driver for another company. So how do you help these companies identify what their feel is?
Yeah, you're absolutely right in that it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. And I think, in the past, it was more approached that way. Like it's just cookie cutter or here's the trends that we're following.
Look, everything is gray.
Right. And let's fit as many people as possible into an open space, which people
don't even have a pen holder. Keep it clean.
Yeah, exactly. And that has really changed. So the way that we approach that is really starting with understanding the business, what they need, what they're hoping to achieve, because every business is different. Some of them need a really quiet space. Some need an open space to collaborate. So that deep dive is how we really start every project with a strategy and understanding the pain points that currently exist and then what that transition needs to be. And then that solution gets formed, and every solution is different for every company.
Which is so exciting in itself. So I think this is a good moment to take a quick little break and hear a word from our presenting sponsor, Trion Solutions. We'll be right back, everyone.
My name is Jenny Brown. I am the CEO of Dutton Farm. We are a nonprofit in the behavioral health system. In the nonprofit sector, we are all focused on keeping our costs down while also maintaining the quality of services that we deliver. And a great way to do that is to partner with Trion Solutions so they can come alongside of you for those HR functions and make sure you are operating with excellence in that area.
And that's why we rely on Trion.
Welcome back to Members on the Mic with the Troy Chamber of Commerce. We are here with Jennifer from Pophouse. So Jennifer, 2 of your recent projects won first place Global Design Awards, and your work was featured on the cover of Interior Design magazine last year. So that's, first of all, amazing, but what do you attribute that kind of success?
I think it starts with our team, and we've really been committed throughout the growth of our company to hire the best creative talent and give them an environment where they can thrive. Really a lot of ownership. So we approach design holistically, and we've built a team of different design talent and strategies. And we look at it as everyone has different strengths, and when combined, make a really impactful space. So that's really the first thing that really attributes, I think, to the level of work. But it's also, really looking at every project from what that business needs and the strategy, understanding how the space needs to function before we even think about the design, so that those ultimate final layers of what you see really can be those standout, phenomenal things. And then I would say we also have had, just an amazing group of clients who are willing to take the journey, because some of it requires being a little fearless and saying, sure, let's try that. It's never been done before, or let's really go with it. And the one project that was featured on the cover of Interior Design magazine, the cover image is of a staircase that is connecting 2 floors in a building downtown. And that was really a journey to get that approved, to say, let's make a big hole between these 2 floors and create this staircase. And it really is the shining moment of that space, which took a lot of trust that we knew what we were talking about, and, it was going to be phenomenal.
Well, and how often are stairwells going to be featured on a magazine?
Right.
So that's got to be pretty spectacular to see.
Yeah, it was exciting, and we're excited for Detroit as well, because Detroit is not often featured from a design standpoint, and it was actually the first ever time that a Detroit project was featured on the cover of Interior Design magazine. So we're making headway in Detroit, which is great.
Well, I think one of the things you brought up is talent. So everyone, when you talk about artists, if you have all artists that are the exact same thought process, they're not really artists, is really what I look at. So when you're working with your team, do you identify better projects for better employees, like based on like how it fits, or how do you go about doing that?
Yeah, I mean, we do that in terms of skill set and experience, but then we also like to mix it up so there's new tension all the time.
Ooh.
It's like good creative tension of, this is a project you've never worked on before, give this a try. And you'll come to it with a different lens. Our background really started in workplace, but over the last couple of years, we've been doing a lot more hospitality projects. And I think that we do bring a different approach, because we don't have an ingrained idea of how those projects need to go. We're kind of approaching it from a new standpoint. So it kind of look at that from the standpoint of the team and who works on what project as well.
It builds diversity of thought, which is always nice. When you have a really good diverse team, they're all going to bring something different to the table.
Right, exactly.
Well, again, I meant one of those crossroads, because I have a question here I need to ask, but a question I want to ask. So I'm going to go with the one I want to ask. Have you gone into a company, they said, hey, XYZ, we want to do this, and as you've talked and as you've learned, that you're like, no, you don't. You actually want to do this. How do you broach that with them and get them to see it from your perspective? Yeah.
So really providing both research and data and often their own team's feedback. So we will often start a project where the stakeholders of the project feel like they know what they need to do. And they'll come and say, these are the things we need to do. And we'll recommend, let's do a little deeper dive into that. And there's a lot of ways to do that. We can do surveys. We can monitor space. There's a number of different tools to monitor how space is used. And then also we can do observations. So with all of those things together, that helps us come back and say, we know you think you know the answer, but here's what we think is actually the right answer. Yeah. And it's sometimes a tricky conversation to have, but often that helps sort of push things in a direction that's going to ultimately be more successful in the long term.
I was going to say it probably helps with retention too.
Absolutely. And I will say that involving, team members in the decisions around space makes a huge difference as well, because everybody wants to be heard, especially if they're having problems with their workspace or things like that. Giving them that opportunity to voice their opinions and see how that may impact the final results of a project is powerful.
Well, and the people who are in the office are the ones who are going to be a part of it.
Exactly.
So, and sometimes the leadership may not even be in the building.
Right.
And that could kind of complicate things a bit.
Yes, absolutely.
And that leads into my question I need to ask. This is working out so great. Okay, so companies are continuing to try to find the whole vibe between remote work, hybrid work, in-office work. How are you helping key decision makers in what they determine or what you determine is right for their company?
Yeah, it's a really tricky time for any business leader trying to figure out how to make their teams happy, what percentage of in-office versus remote is okay. And so we really come in, and a lot of times, at least right now, businesses will come and say, we're not sure what to do. Either we want everybody back in and we can't get people to come back to the office, or we want to work hybrid, but our office space no longer supports that because everyone's on, virtual calls and it's too loud for that to happen. And so we have been doing a number of different things. One is coming and saying, we'll spend a half day or a day with you and let's do a deep dive on what issues you're having and provide recommendations on next steps. Or let's do a longer analysis and see what you're hoping to achieve. Because really, the environment is just one component of what has to change. A lot of it is the culture, what the expectations are for what people need to do and how they need to do their jobs. And team members have more opinions than ever. Rightly so, because okay, many of them, it's okay. Many of them have had an opportunity to be working from home that they never had before. And they can make their space exactly what they want. They can go to their coffee maker and get the coffee they want, or they can take a break and sit in a chair they like, those sorts of things. So to get people out of their comfort zone and back to an office, you have to be able to provide them things that are even more enticing than what they can get at home.
Well, and you mentioned providing those things. There's new amenities, there's new things. What are some of the cool things you're seeing businesses do, or what are some of the more unique ones you're seeing them do?
So it's really interesting because I would say 10 years ago, it was very popular to have crazy things, ping pong tables, foosball tables.
And we know that's just to keep you to not leave.
Right, exactly. And now it's less about a thing and more about why do I need to go to the office and does the space support what I'm doing? So what we hear over and over again is it's very sad when you go into the office and no one else is there. So, setting those meetings or those days where people are in and everybody is together and the intention is to collaborate. And if that's the case, are there spaces to do that? And when you're there, is there food? Is there coffee? Are there things that support it being more fun to be there? Or on the flip side, do you need a quiet space to work? And does that environment support heads down, quiet work? And are you comfortable? Is the lighting right? Is the temperature right? So it's really looking at all of that. And because we're still in the midst of a lot of this change, it's how do you create an environment that has flexibility for people to opt in to different things that they need? So we're kind of really looking at it from that holistic standpoint versus there's going to be one thing that everyone's going to love and it's going to bring them back. One thing that I think is fantastic, and it's really been, more recent that most companies are considering this, is creating spaces for wellness, meditation, mother's rooms, things like that are so important for people to be able to do those personal things in the course of a workday. We've built out a couple phenomenal spaces like that in some of our projects. And that used to be sort of off the table. We can't dedicate real estate to those types of things. And now it's becoming more of, we need this. It's really important for our employees. And I think that's a fantastic transition.
So it's more about logical beauty, I guess it would be, because you're beautifying or you're making an innovative space, but it's based off logic and data to make sure that decision is holds merit of sorts.
Exactly. I mean, it's, your space, any company's space is one of the largest investments that they'll make as a business. And so if it's not going to function properly, it's not a wise investment. So it really is the logic and the function behind the project that you're doing.
Well, and I think of Sheila because we're I do. This is like the temperature control. I'm like, that's her. But even the fact
I'm the only one who knew how to work it.
I'm like, whatever, I'm sweaty today or I'm not sweaty. But I think what's funny is even when we moved into a new space and Sheila wanted a purple pole. That sounds wrong, but it's a beam, but she wanted it purple and it may not have actually matched our decor, but it didn't not match.
Yeah.
And I think the reality is if that brought joy,
it does.
And but specifically it brought joy to her space. And I think that's so nice to be able to say, hey, we want our employees and we want everyone to feel like it's their space and they're comfortable. We can collaborate and we still have a consistent view, but we can still allow a little bit of that flexibility.
That's so important. I mean, everyone wants to feel like they have a stake in it and it's partly theirs. So whatever it may be, really trying to understand what those things are and provide them for teams, I think really, really helps with just, overall employee satisfaction, retention, a lot of things that businesses are struggling with right now.
Jennifer, I thank you. I know I'm loving it. I'm making mental notes in my head
this one could be like an hour.
Yeah.
I'm like kind of wanting to keep going.
Really appreciate you being here today. If you could leave our members with one nugget of something that they can take and run with right away, what would that be?
I think it's really just understanding that, space matters and that people more than ever care about what their space, what their environment is like. So for any company that's really trying to figure out what does the future look like? What does this year look like 5 years, 10 years? Really to think of this as a potential opportunity, really, to look at things differently and really help with this evolution of workplace that we're going through.
Yeah. Wow. I love it. Well, guys, that's all we have here today on Members on the Mic with the Troy Chamber of Commerce. Thank you so much, Jennifer from Pophouse. This was really informative. Obviously, we're huge fans. Can we get at least an image of that front cover, if possible?
Absolutely.
So when we air this, we'll have this in the notes. So make sure you guys look at that as well. We'll have some information. And how can people learn more about Pophouse? What's a great way for them to connect to you?
So you can look at projects on our website, which is pophouse.design, or reach out to me directly, which is Jennifer Janus at pophouse.design, and love to hear from you.
And her cell phone number? No, I'm just teasing. And that's all we have here today, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Special thanks to our presenting sponsor, Trion Solutions. For more information on joining the Troy Chamber of Commerce or for upcoming events, go to troychamber.com. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. Bye now.